What's good, everybody? It's Jonah coming back at y'all with a video. So this video, I'm excited to do this one right here because this video was actually inspired by a song that I was listening to, right? So I was listening to a song and essentially the artist says, sometimes you gotta laugh at life. And once I heard that line, I paused the song and began reflecting on my own life because that is such a true statement, right? Sometimes you gotta laugh at life. And when we say that, laughing at life, it's because most people, when things don't go their way, they get mad or frustrated. But in those instances, that is when you should laugh at life. And the reason why you should laugh at life is because if things don't go your way or things are quote unquote bad, right? Like bad events are happening, then all that really is just contrast. And what contrast is simply just experiencing what you don't want. But that is still a good thing, right? Because people will say, well, Joel, how can that possibly be a good thing? How can that possibly be a good thing if bad events are happening, bad things are happening? You don't understand is contrast is a good thing because contrast helps you clarify on what it is that you actually want. Now, it sounds crazy, it sounds silly, right? If this is your first time hearing me say this, but let me give you an example of this playing out, right? Say, for example, from the moment you were born until wherever it is that you're at now, however old you are watching this video, let's say the moment you were born to now, you've only ever been in a room. You've only ever been indoors, right? And you've only ever been in a room that was kept at room temperature. You've only ever experienced room temperature. You've never experienced hot or cold, right? You never experienced cold weather, warm weather, hot weather, etc., etc. If you've only experienced room temperature your whole life, right? Whether room temperature is 75 degrees, 80 degrees, whatever it is, right? Because oftentimes when things are room temperature, you don't really feel anything, right? Everything feels quote unquote normal, right? If I were to ask you, what do you prefer? Cold weather or warm weather? You would look at me like I'm crazy because you wouldn't understand it because you've never experienced it, right? You've never experienced cold weather, you've never experienced warm weather, hot weather. So how could you have a preference if you've never experienced it, right? See, this is why the statement where it says sometimes you gotta laugh at life, it's true because when events happen, these are experiences. And with these experiences, that is when your preferences are born, right? So for example, if let's just say you didn't know the answer to the question, right, which chances are you won't, whether you prefer cold or warm weather because you've lived in room temperature for 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, however old you are, right? If I were to put you outside where you can now experience all the different types of weather, you would then probably have a preference. If let's just say you hated cold weather, absolutely hated cold weather, and you could never ever see yourself living in a place with cold weather, chances are if you could freely choose wherever it is that you wanted to live, chances are you would not live in Alaska or Antarctica, right? Places that are always wintertime. If obviously assuming money was not like a variable and you could live anywhere in the world, right? You would not choose to live in Alaska or Antarctica because you absolutely hate cold weather. Why? Because you experienced cold weather and you didn't like it, right? And then you experienced warm weather and you absolutely love it. You're a fan of it. Why? Because warm weather, you're able to go outside, you enjoy the cool nights, you enjoy like the activity, the sun being out, great. So chances are you would prefer, if you could live anywhere, right? Chances are you would probably prefer living in areas or countries or states, right, that are closer to the equator where it is warmer because that is your preference of weather, right? It's just if you were in the room temperature room your whole life, it's hard to imagine that you would have a preference of hot or cold if you had never experienced what these weathers or temperatures were like. But sometimes experiencing one, right? For example, if you didn't like the cold, right? Experiencing the cold made you realize how much you dislike the cold, which because you dislike the cold, now it's obvious that you prefer the warm. because you've experienced the opposite end of the spectrum. So this is the idea here, right? When things happen in life, they just are. They're just experiences. And even if they're quote unquote bad, like if you label it as a quote unquote bad experience or a bad event, it's still a good thing, because now you've experienced contrast, you've experienced something you didn't want, which now helps you clarify on what it is that you actually do want. It allows you to learn about yourself and your preferences. This is why we're put here on earth. Well, to experience, the goal of us being put on here on earth is to experience outrageous joy. But the fun part about us being here and living our lives is that we can continue growing and learning about ourselves and understanding our preferences. And we can understand our preferences and learn about our preferences as we experience things in life. So this is why experiencing things is good, because then you can learn about what it is that you actually want and prefer out of this life. So when bad things are happening, right? As the title of the video, sometimes you gotta laugh at life, right? Oftentimes people that experience bad things, they get mad and they get angry and they get frustrated and they want to punch a hole through the wall and they want to flip some tables, right? And trust me, I understand the logic in that. I'm human too. I have been conditioned for most of my life to operate that way, even though I've never been like an angry person, right? Like, of course, I'm human. I've experienced that side too, right? So I understand it. But for some people, that is the default setting where something bad happens and they're furious, they're fuming. But you need to understand is that quote unquote bad thing that happened, it is just contrast. It is just allowing you to be clear in your mind on what it is that you do want and for you to learn about yourself and your true preference. So it's never actually bad. I see oftentimes people just want to pop champagne when good things happen, and by all means, 1000% go pop champagne, celebrate when good things are happening, because you deserve to celebrate your wins and you deserve to be happy. But you can also pop champagne when bad things are happening too, because if bad things are happening, one, you know it's temporary, and two, that quote unquote bad thing is actually good, because now it's just contrast, right? It's just, in that case, if you're a warm weather creature, that's just you experiencing cold weather and say, you know what, I gotta get out of here, I'm going to warm weather. That's what that is. So it's still a good thing, right? So this is why sometimes you gotta laugh. Like if quote unquote bad things are happening, just crack a smile and laugh, because you now know what it is. You now know that it's just contrast, that there's no need for you to actually worry, because once you see it and it's not to your liking, you can laugh at it and you can turn your back to it, because you know that it's not an accurate representation of what you want and who you are and where it is that you want to go and what you want to be. So you don't have to give it your energy or your attention. You can focus on these other things that are going well for you and focus on that and work on that, because then everything else, as you focus on the good, everything else that may not be as good will then correct itself on its own to be good. So this is why you in this lifetime are absolutely blessed. But you also need to remember that life, you are put here to experience life, to experience things. You can't really run away from it or hide from it. And to be quite honest, you don't really want to run away from it either, because that is part of the joy in life. That's how you learn about yourself and learn about your own preferences. And you're always on a journey of discovery. You're always on a journey of learning more about yourself and continuously expanding. So that is part of the life journey, right? So when quote unquote disaster strikes, those are the moments where you want to laugh at life, because the good part about it, well, first off, you can find anything good out of any situation that happens, right? Events are not good or bad, they just are. And we are the ones that assign meaning to it. We're the ones that typically just place it in buckets between good or bad. Events are just, they just are. We can find the good in every single event. But even if bad things are happening, we can still laugh at it. And that's us remaining true to our power, because we know that we are creators. We know that if something happened in our life, somehow, some way, we created it. And if it's not to our liking, we can laugh, because even if we create a disaster, we can just as easily turn it around and create a miracle 10 times faster and have so much fun along the way, creating the life that we've always wanted to live. So with this saying right here, sometimes you gotta laugh at life, is true, right? Even if you feel like you're down on your luck or down and out, the truth is you never are. And if you feel that way, those are the best moments to laugh, because remember, you are powerful beyond measure. You can create the life that you've always wanted. You have access to that power, and you can begin tapping into it right now with having the right attitude and the right energy. Everything in your life, nothing in life ever happens to you. It happens for you. It happens for your betterment. Happens for your own self discovery and your growth. Right? Things don't happen to you. They happen for you, for your betterment. So take life and view life from those lenses. Something quote unquote bad unfolds for you. Just say, even if in the moment you can't figure out something that's good from this, you can say, you know what? I don't know how this is gonna work out. I just don't know. But I know that something good will come from this. I know that somehow, some way, I will use this to my advantage. I know somehow, some way, this will work out. Things will improve. Things will get better. Things are okay. Things are already taken care of, right? That is how you laugh at life. So with this video, just remind you to have more fun, to smile, and don't always take life so serious. I get it. We all want to be successful. I get it. We want to do our best and strive and be great and have abundance in all areas and live life beyond our wildest dreams. I 1000%, I totally get it. Right? I'm the same way. I feel that same way too. But you don't always have to take life so serious, because taking life serious is you trying to force your way through life, is you trying to find all the answers and make all the pieces fit. And if you don't have an answer, that's when you get worried and anxious, right? You need to allow life to also unfold and happen, because there's so many things that happen in life that you can't account for, that you can't predict will happen, right? You can't predict every single tiny detail of your life and how things are organized. Some things that happen in life that will just fall into place, that none of your senses were able to pick up. You had no idea that this was happening behind the scenes, right? Nothing. That happens. That's life. So this is why you gotta laugh. You gotta be happy, be smiling. Don't take it so serious, right? Everything somehow, some way is gonna work itself out. It has always worked itself out from the beginning of your life to where it is now. Everything's gonna be fine. Everything will continue to be fine. Everything's gonna be okay. So sometimes you gotta laugh at life. So that wraps up the video. Enjoy the video. Do leave a like and subscribe as we are on the road to a big million subscriber, guys. Once again, it's Joel, and I'm out. I'll see you guys for the next video.